My name is Richard Connell. I am the CEO of Metropolis Studios here in West London. Welcome to our digital Metropolis VIP experience. Metropolis Studios is the largest independent recording complex in Europe. We have a core product of recording, mixing and mastering. We are regularly in the top 10 studios in the world as voted for by Billboard. And the reason that we're fantastic and amazing and brilliant is not because of this equipment that you see here. It's not because of all the patch bays that I'm looking at now. It's because of the people. And it's those people, and it's the people that come and work here that keep Metropolis at the #1 spot in London. And that's why I'm so proud to be part of the ACM group, because we draw the talent that comes and makes this equipment sing as well as it can from the ACM alumni. I am so proud to be part of ACM. There's not a studio in the world, there's no studio in the world that takes the education and the opportunity to bring fresh talent in as seriously as we do. So I could say that it's wonderful to be part of education and educating the future, but for us it's a fantastic relationship because I get first dibs on the next generation of sound engineers. ACM is a place to learn your craft, and Metropolis is a professional environment for you to bring that craft back to when you graduate.
Welcome to Metropolis Studios, Europe's #1 mixing, recording and mastering studio. Today we'll be giving you a virtual tour of the building. Thanks to ACM's ownership of Metropolis, ACM students get to learn from and at Metropolis in a unique partnership that combines education services with recording studios. Come on inside. Studio A has been a prolific studio for the best part of 3 decades. Some of the biggest named artists who have recorded in here include Queen and George Michael. Freddie Mercury actually recorded vocals in this very space that we're standing in. This is also the control room in which we run the Live to Vinyl series. We're currently standing in Studio A's live room. It's our biggest acoustically treated space in the studio. Over £1 million was spent on that treatment. The space is split into multiple sections. This is obviously the large live room, and then we've got 2 isolation rooms either side of it. Behind us we've got the stone room, which is typically used for quite old school big drum sounds. And the other booth is also used a lot for percussion and for isolating vocals. Behind me you can also see a famous Fazioli piano, which was used in the recording of Queen's Innuendo album and was also used by George Michael for his Listen Without Prejudice album. It's also used as a backdrop for many TV and video productions, for live performances, for example our Clash Live series, which is a partnership with Clash magazine. We're currently in the dead room of Studio A, in which artists anywhere from Kendrick Lamar right through to the Amazons have recorded in here. It's typically used for recording vocals and drums. You now find us in Studio B, which for many is one of the favourite studios in the whole building. Behind me you've got the G Series SSL desk, and you've got some amazing custom-made Genelecs. Some of the clients who have recorded in here include will.i.am, Rihanna, U2 and Elton John. Just heading into Studio E. Behind me we have the K-Series SSL console, which has been famously used by the likes of Paul McCartney, Jessie J, Emily Sandé and David Guetta. Studio E is typically used for tracking vocals. We have clients travelling from all over the world to record in this space. I'll just show you the vocal booth. It may just look like any recording vocal booth, but imagine the amount of history that's been made right here in this very space. We're going to head into John Davis' legendary mastering engineer's suite now, and I'm going to point out a couple of the discs that he's worked on along the way. Prodigy, Lana Del Rey, little known rock band called Led Zeppelin. We are in John Davis's mastering suite. He's one of the iconic mastering engineers in the world. Many say that this is one of the best mastering monitoring studios. John has worked with everyone from Gorillaz to The Killers. This is one of the spaces that I often try and pop my head round in to have a listen to what John's up to, because he is always very abreast of the latest emerging artists. I've worked with John on lots of projects in here for the Live to Vinyl series, with everyone from Lewis Capaldi through to bands like Portico Quartet, and this is one of the beautiful pieces of vinyl that we produced from that series on amazing 12-inch coloured vinyl. We're standing outside Studio C. We can't access this today because we've got one of the highest profile recording artists in the world in here today, so we've got complete lockdown access. Just wanted to show you the studio though, outside it, because inside it's got one of the rarest Neve VR 72 channel desks inside it, which many famous artists have mixed and recorded on, the likes of Amy Winehouse, Adele, Paloma Faith, and many, many more artists. We're just entering Stuart Hawk's mastering domain. On the walls you can see some of the amazing discs that he's worked on. On this side we've got Amy Winehouse, and on the other wall we got some Ed Sheeran. We're now in Stuart Hawk's mastering room. This is one of the rooms that we do the Live to Vinyl series in. So typically the band will record from Studio A, take an analog feed all the way up into the vinyl lathe, and we'll cut lacquers in real time. The artist will then often come upstairs afterwards to have a listen back to exactly what's been captured and select which takes they want to be using. Those are the lacquers that we then send off to Optimal in Germany for pressing runs. Just going to take you inside the Spotify room. Spotify took this studio over a couple of years ago, and they use it for their Secret Genius program, in which anyone, anywhere can apply for a day's free studio time. It's completely free. We've had loads of very well established artists in here through to completely unknown, unsigned acts using the space as well.
Hello, my name's Liam Nolan. Welcome to Metropolis Studios. I'm an in-house engineer here. My credits include working with artists such as Adele, which I was very fortunate to win a couple Grammys for. Amazing artists such as Stormzy, AJ Tracy, Bakar, Clean Bandit, and a huge roster of other great artists. So today in the masterclass, we're going to be covering how to record the perfect vocal. We'll be joined by ACM tutor Jono McNeil, who will be our vocalist today. So for the first section of this masterclass, I'd like to talk about the pre-preparation that we do here at the studios before the artist arrives. So normally we would be put in contact with the artist or the management. We would find if they have a particular vocal chain that they like to use. We'll find out what that is and have that set up before the artists arrive. We have some amazing assistants here. So for example, today our assistant on the session, Harpal, set up the session. So he brought in our microphone preamp, he set up the vocal booth with the different mics we're going to shoot out today, and he made sure that everything was working and sending to Pro Tools. This was all before the artist arrived. So once the artist was here, we knew that we had a vocal chain up and running if they wanted to walk straight into the booth and start recording. So for today's session, we're going to be shooting out two microphones. I've got a U67, Neumann U67 and a Neumann M49 up. The U67's kind of tonal characteristics, it's a bit more bright, I'd say, than the M49. It's quite flat, and it really allows you to sculpt the vocal to whatever sound you want at the end. Because it's the first time I've worked with Jono, I've also got the M49, and that kind of really captures more of the body of a voice. It's quite a rich sounding microphone. So before the session as well, once we've got the microphones up, it's very important actually to have a pop shield. Now a pop shield stops plosives, so any P's and B's, they can be quite boomy on a mic if you don't have a pop shield there. And it's very important to have one to stop that, to keep your recording clean. And the way I like to set the pop shield, again, I think this is a very overlooked thing, but you don't want your pop shield too close to the microphone. So I like to kind of put between the front of the microphone and where the pop shield is, if you kind of have a fist stiff distance between them, you're going to ensure that, you know, you're capturing a good vocal there without any plosives. And it also is kind of a distance measure for your artist. And for all your vocalists out there, a little bit about mic technique. So if you're singing in a quiet part of the song, this is where you know, feel free to come up to the pop shield and sing a bit quieter. But when you're going to belt it, you know, microphone technique comes in here. So you don't want to then be really close and intimate here and belt it as loud as you can. It's good to kind of step away from the mic a little bit when you're singing loudly, and you'll use your distance between the mic as a sort of dynamic control, and that will ensure that you have a smoother recording. So when recording in the studio, we normally use large diaphragm condenser microphones, and that's because they're just a bit more open. So in a controlled space, you know, you get more of an open vocal sound, which is more pleasing to the ear compared to a dynamic. They're also a lot more sensitive, so that's why you've got to keep your distance from the microphone more so than you say a handheld. So there are times when, you know, your mic choice may not necessarily fit having a large diaphragm. That's why it's important to shoot out microphones and try out to see which suits the artist's voice or your voice. So try a large diaphragm, try a dynamic, see, or even a ribbon mic. In the first initial steps, just experimenting to see which suits your voices. To explain the vocal chain and how it's all set up and how we're routing things in the control room, we have the vocal mic in the booth. We've got ties that it comes through to our mic pre. So I'll be using a Prism MMA4, which is a very clean sounding mic pre. I like it because it's clean. It's also got meters, so I can see how hot I'm metering. From the microphone preamp, it goes to a TubeTech CL1A, which is a compressor, and that's just to catch any peaks and general leveling on the audio coming in. And from the compressor, we plug directly into Pro Tools, so input 1 into Pro Tools, and it's recording cleanly into Pro Tools. So that's the vocal chain. Now to monitor, I have everything returning on the desk. I only use 4 channels, so channels 1 and 2 essentially will be the backing track. Channels 3 and 4, it's a stereo pair, will be my vocals, just in case if we stack and want to pan anything. But I do my mixing, my sub-mixing of the vocals inside Pro Tools, and I send to the headphones from the desk, and I'm sending it pre-fader balance. So that means if, for example, I just want to solo the vocals while we're recording in here, when I solo the vocals in here, it's not going to change the headphone mix for the artist. I feel that you have to have a streamlined workflow. So when an artist comes in and wants to record quickly to get ideas down, you're able to keep pace with the session and know, and as well as keeping yourself organized and the session organized. So yeah, let's look at how I set up my vocal template. There are a couple things that I like to have set first. Let's first look at the Pro Tools preferences. So within the Pro Tools preferences, there's 2 things that I like to make sure are ticked or enabled or disabled. The first one is down here, that automatically create new playlists when in loop record. I like to make sure that that's enabled. So if an artist goes into the booth and decides to put the track on loop record, Pro Tools knows to create new playlists when we're loop recording, so I can go in and comp between the different takes. The second preference that I like to do is disable the latch record enable buttons when I'm recording vocals. So I'll disable that. And the reason is, if we've got an artist that likes to record quickly, say for example, we're recording the first verse here, when I arm the track, which is Shift and R is the shortcut in Pro Tools, we can start recording takes here, but say they want to quickly double it or add BVs very quickly, and they've, you know, I can quickly just, when scrolling through the different tracks, arm the tracks. And if you notice, when I'm arming a new track, it's disabling the track above, so I'm not doubling myself. And that's just what I find creates a quick workflow when recording between different tracks. So I'll show you what happens if I have the latch record enable buttons in. If I arm this track and I go down and arm that track, you'll notice all the tracks stay armed, which is not a very good workflow thing. It just makes it quicker. Yeah, that's my Pro Tools preferences. So we have Pro Tools HD systems here, which means that our computers are pretty powerful, and we have DSP cards that do deal with a lot of the plug-in processing. So the way I route my vocal template, I actually have, first of all, a mono aux, which my microphone comes into. And the reason I have this is sometimes on writing sessions, if I want to record, say, auto tune, or you can see there's a disabled compressor here, I can record in my plugins to the vocal that's being recorded. But that is so rare. I think for the most part you won't be recording any processing within inside Pro Tools. So I have my vocal bus here, which then feeds into my audio channel here. So if you see, the output goes into my input of this audio channel, and then all my vocals, I sometimes split it out, I have a couple of extra buses, but for the most part, all my audio vocal audio tracks routes to one stereo aux, and on that I have some processing which will be affecting the vocal sounds. This processing will not be recorded with the audio. It's purely for monitoring purposes, and I find that a lot of artists like to hear their vocals recorded, which kind of has a finished or slightly more polished sound than just recording the raw audio. So here I kind of have an 1176 plugin, which is a compressor, and here it just it allows me to compress the vocals a lot more than I would with the outboards, because with the outboards I just want to catch peaks and overall tonal shape rather than heavily compress. So I heavily compress inside Pro Tools with this. I have EQ, so normally vocalists like their vocals to be brighter, so I have a boost at 10K, it rolls off the bottom end, so rumble, and a little bit of a mid scoop to make their vocals sound a bit more polished. I have a de-esser to get rid of any sibilance, and I have an extra overall channel strip, tonal shape and things, so I've got a bit more filter in, maybe a bit more compression. This will come in or out depending if it just needs, the vocals need a bit more tidying. But yeah, and then from that aux, I then have my send set up. So I like to keep everything super simple. So I have a reverb send, my sends are down here. So I have a plate send, which is a deverb, super simple. Depending on the tempo, I'll change the time of the reverb. It's EQ'd a little bit, but that's just a basic reverb, and I have a delay set up for monitoring. And that's it. Your template doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. As long as your workflow is streamlined and quick, then yeah, that's it. So we use Pro Tools here at Metropolis, but there are other DAWs such as Logic, Ableton, Cubase, GarageBand, which you'll be able to set up a similar template and record artists using a similar workflow. DAWs stand for Digital Audio Workstations. So just to recap, make sure you have everything working before the artist arrives. Within your template, make sure you have plenty of audio tracks, each sending to a reverb with a bit of compression and delay to make the artist feel comfortable. So now John is going to come down into the studio. We're going to get him set up and ready to record some vocals.
Hi, my name is Jono McNeil. I am a vocal tutor at ACM. I've been teaching there for a while now and also get the chance to teach lots of amazing artists outside of ACM as well. I work on The Voice UK, The Voice Kids, Little Mix, The Search, and also as a backing vocalist I've had the chance to work with lots of cool artists like Michael Bublé and Lamar and Paloma Faith and Jamie Cullum, Nelly, and also sing as an original artist myself. I've got several albums out that I've had the opportunity, the privilege to release, and that is me as a vocal tutor.
So when an artist first comes into the studio, the first thing you've got to do is obviously make sure that the mics are at the right height, the pop shields at a decent distance away to reduce plosives onto the microphone. So if you see, hopefully you should be able to see that the microphone is in line with Jono's mouth, so he's singing directly into the capsule. I'm just going to raise up, if you could sing into this U67 first, that's how to set up your artist in the vocal booth. So now that Jono's in the booth, we're going to go for our first take. This is where I will be checking my preamp level and my compression level, as well as making Jono comfortable in the booth by setting headphone levels, reverb levels and stuff like that. So for this first initial test, we're just getting essentially everything comfortable for Jono and making sure that I'm recording a clean signal. So yeah, let's give it a try. So Jono, can you hear me?
I can.
Hello, dude. So yeah, for this first run through, I'm just going to be setting levels. Just shout if you need your headphones louder, quieter, yourself louder, quieter, and we'll get you comfortable.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
Thanks, then.
All good. So I'm going to play from the top of the track. Here it comes.
All this love that I'm giving, can it ever be enough? Let's go back to the beginning. Will it be the end of us? Give me a sign. Maybe it's just a tiny bit too bright, just a little bit on the top end.
Of course, yeah. We'll back the top end off.
Give me a sign. Tell. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
1, 2, oh.
Cool. How's that? Shall we?
That's nice, yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Shall we try that again?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'll bring you a couple bars before where you come in. Cool. Okay. So 2 bars and in. 1, 2, 3.
All this love that I'm giving, can it ever be enough? Let's go back to the beginning. Will it be the end of us? Give me a sign. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. Put my hands up high and surrender. You can out on me. You can out on me, yeah. I know we got each other, baby. I know we got each other, baby. I know we got each other, baby. I know I will be there for you. 1, 2, 2. Yeah. I think it's good. It's good. I could take a tiny bit more track if that's all right.
Of course,
And
yeah.
I think I'm happy.
Of course. Let me turn that up for you. Let's do that over here. Okay, perfect.
Keep the clicking there.
Perfect.
1, 2, oh, yeah.
Okay, so the track should be a little bit louder.
Should we try a proper take?
Yes, yeah. We'll try a proper take on this mic, then we'll do a very quick shootout with the other mic, and then decide which one suits your voice best.
Lovely.
Perfect, so this will be our take for the U67. Okay, 2 bars in him.
All this love that I'm giving, can it ever be enough? Let's go back to the beginning. Will it be the end of us? Give me a sign. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. Throw my hands up high and surrender. You can count on me. You can count on me, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. We got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I know. I will be there for you.
Good job. So shall we try the M49 just to see which works? So Harple, our lovely assistant, is going to come in and just quickly move the pop shield for you. So 2 moments. So you saw us just record an initial take with the U67, and because we're very lucky here at Metropolis and we've got a whole selection of lovely microphones, seeing as it's the first time I've worked with Jono, I would like to try another mic to see which microphone suits his voice the best. So we've got a M49, which is a kind of a older, richer, warmer sounding microphone. We're going to get Jono to record down a take on that, and between us we'll decide which microphone suits his vocals the best, and then we'll start recording takes with whichever microphone works for his voice.
All the love that I'm giving, can it ever be enough? Let's go back to the beginning. Will it be the end of us? Give me a sign. Tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. Throw my hands up high and surrender. You can count on me. You can count on me, yeah. Oh, yeah. Whoa, I know. Got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I know. I'll be there for you.
Cool. Lovely, thank you. We'll just quickly A/B between the end section, I think, to see which one works best. I'll just kind of roughly match them. So your opinion would be great as well, Jono, if that's all right, but we'll both have a listen. So we're going to listen to the first mic, the U67, just for the end section. Here it comes.
Oh, I know. We got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I know. I will be there for you.
Cool. Just going to listen to the same section with the M49.
Oh, I know. Got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I know. I'll be there for you.
Cool. Okay.
The first one seemed a little bit lighter.
I agree. It felt more open, the first one.
Yeah,
it kind of, I felt, opened up your vocals a bit more. Which,
Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
so I think we should go for the U67 and go for a couple.
Sounds good.
Perfect. So 2 moments, we'll just quickly patch, but it'll be 1 minute. So, okay, here it comes. 2 bars and in. Okay, so the compressor I have on Jono is the TubeTech CL1A. It's an amazing compressor and loads of artists use it. This is kind of the rough settings I have, and the amount of compression I normally do when recording. So I don't really want to do any more than 5 dBs worth of reduction. That'll be the complete maximum, but I want some control over the vocals. So yeah, that's kind of how I set it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I know. We got each other, baby. I know. We got each other, baby. I
So a few extra tips when recording vocals. The atmosphere in the studio is very important, so putting the artist at ease is essential really in creating a relaxed atmosphere so they feel comfortable to record as best as they can. So that may be turning down the lights, having a cup of tea before they go into the booth, just making sure everybody's comfortable. So I hope you've learned something today. All these techniques can be applied at home or in any other situation. The most important thing is just putting your artist at ease and making sure the session runs smoothly. So what you've seen here today, how I run the session, how I organise the session, it will be exactly the same whether it'll be with an A-list artist or an ACM student. The principles apply to everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this digital experience. I look forward to welcoming you to Metropolis one day soon.
Hello, thank you for joining us for the second part of today's experience for Metropolis VIP. So I'm joined by both Richard and Alex from Metropolis. So Alex, I think you need to turn your mic and camera back on. But first of all, I'm going to pass over. We can hear you, just need to turn your camera on. So Richard, if you could introduce yourself to the stream.
Hello, apologies, I think I'm in a little bit of a dark space, but I'm in Studio B in Metropolis Studios here in Chiswick. My name is Richard Connell. I'm the CEO of Metropolis Studios. I've been here for about 3.5 years. Prior to that, I spent 20 years at Sony Music in London and was Chief Marketing Officer and Managing Director of Epic Records for Sony Music. I hope you can see me. I keep getting all these messages in saying I'm very dark, but hopefully you can see me or at least hear me. Yes, I've been here for about 3.5 years now, running Metropolis Studios. That's me. Lizzie, do you want me to talk more about Studio B or shall I?
So whilst we're just waiting for Alex to get his camera sorted, one of the questions I did want to ask you that's come in on the stream is about the mixing desk in Studio A. So what's the brand of mixing desk we have in there?
You see, now, Lizzie, this is where I need Alex because my experience of working at Sony Music and here, I'm a pure marketing person. I know it's an SSL in, I think, in Studio A. Yes, I think it's an SSL in Studio A. Alex will be able to speak a lot more professionally about the various levels of equipment that we have in Studio A. What I can talk about, oh, there he is. What I can talk about more with more education is around the clients that we have and the marketing and not the marketing, because that's part of our sales pitch around Studio A. Studio A in Metropolis is our largest studio. I'll let Alex talk about the tech spec in a second. And in Studio A is very, very famous for when we were built in the late 80s. It was the last album of Queen. It was where they did the Innuendo album. It was their last recording was done in there when Freddie was very, very sick. We have the Fazioli piano that is in Studio A, and that's been in there for since he left it there. So that's very famous for that. Studio A over time, I think Hello Adele vocals were done in Studio A. We last year we did the year before. No, actually last year we did the Future album. The current Future record was done in Studio A, as was bits and pieces of the Travis Scott record. Kendrick Lamar uses Studio A. It's that kind of, it's our largest studio. It's a fantastic space. Studio B is a smaller studio, obviously, and it is more. It's will.i.am's favorite studio. It's Elton John's favorite studio in the world. We're very proud of that fact. It's where the piano in here is George Michael's piano, who wrote "Listen Without Prejudice" on the piano in Studio B. And currently, right now, I think as I'm sitting in Studio B, I think we're waiting. Alex, you may be able to tell me better. I think we're waiting for Bakar to come in into Studio B this evening. It's where the Burna Boy record was done over lockdown. It's where the WizKid record was done over lockdown. It's Studio B is my favorite studio. It's the musicians studio because it's a much more compact studio than Studio A. Studio A's control room is very large. you're quite disconnected as an artist from the producer and from the control room because it's so big. Studio B is a much more compact, smaller room. It's I'll spin this around. You go from here straight through those doors to the lounge. The Studio A lounge is up a flight of stairs and is a separate room. So you can be sitting back there relaxing, and you can see all the way through to the, if I hold this up to the live room there, you'll see the piano there. The live room set up, you can see that all the way from the lounge all the way through. That's a long old boring answer, Lizzie. I apologise. You just asked me what the desk was in Studio A, didn't you?
No, that's all good. No, it's nice to hear about the different artists that are coming into Metropolis all the time, especially through lockdown as well. So if we just get Alex to give a brief introduction to himself and talk about your journey from being a student at ACM to now being an engineer at Metropolis.
Sure. So I've been at Metropolis now for about 8 years, coming up to in February. And I kind of worked my way up there. Started out as a runner, you know, did all the odd jobs, and you know, going out and getting food and all the stuff you don't really want to be doing. And then moved up to assistant. So you're shadowing the engineers and doing setups, you know, which is a long old, you know, could be long hours, you know, just for a setup. As you can see, Richard sat in there. That setup there takes about 4 hours, you know, set up and pack down either side of the session. So it could be a very kind of, you know, thankless job some days, but the results you get out of it, both in terms of sound and, you know, keeping the artist happy, is always worth it. And then kind of moving up to engineer. So now I'm doing the recording. I'm sure Richard will take you and give you a little look around while I'm chatting. I was literally in there last night doing some recording on that piano and doing some vocal tracking in the booth there. It's a lovely Yamaha piano. So that's my journey at Metropolis. But before then, I was obviously part of ACM. I studied there between 09 and 11. Started out on what would have been, I'm not sure what the courses are now, but the production kind of, I suppose it might have been a BTEC or whatever that was then, and then moved on to the degree. Did 2 years on the degree, finished that, and then after that, I was very lucky. I kind of sent off lots of applications, and kind of put my name out there to lots of studios, just looking for any kind of internship work, anything really. And I do that, every few months. Just send emails and letters off to studios. And got a job in a small studio in Wimbledon. I was there for a year, where I could kind of go in and try all the equipment and really, learn the skills, whilst the guy who owned it was kind of, he was not using it. So whenever he wasn't in there, I could go in and learn all the equipment. And then did a project out in France for 3 or 4 months with a amazing producer called James Sanger. And then came back, and after a couple of months of looking around again for more work, was very lucky to kind of get picked up. Sent an email off to, he was the old head engineer at the time, an engineer called Sam Wheat. And he emailed me back, and I came in for a running position, and that's kind of how it all started.
Amazing. So we've got quite a few questions that have come in on the stream. If anyone's joined us from the production and tech services open day that we ran before this session, welcome, and make sure to get any questions in about the production course. Alex is alumni, so we can answer those questions for you here. So the first question I'm going to put to Alex, which is more of a techie one, which is, what is the brand of mic and the brand of, in the video that were Liam used, and the brand of mic stand that Metropolis used?
Oh, blimey. I was making my coffee during the video, but I think I've seen it before. It'll probably be a couple of Neumann microphones. microphones. Yeah, a couple of Neumann microphones. I'd imagine, knowing Liam, it's one or other of a M49 and a U67, which, if you want originals, are going to set you back a little bit. They're kind of, 10 to 15 grand a mic. The reissues, which are still very good, a little bit more affordable, but still not in the range of most people. But that's not to say you can't get excellent results with a lot of mics these days. As for the mic stands, we tend to use Latch Lake mic stands for the kind of big boom arm stands these days, and we've got some older ones which they're as old as the studio, so I'm not entirely sure what the exact model are, but you can pick them up anyway. But the Latch Lake ones are great.
Fantastic. And what is the mixing desk that we have in Studio A?
That is an SSL J series, which would be about I should know this, about 1994. I know that because the life or the service warranty ran out, which was 25 years, ran out last year. So SSL no longer give us support on that one, which is a bit of a pain. But we've got some great tech guys here who know everything there is to know about these consoles. So fixing them is generally not too much of a problem. But they are getting old, especially that one behind Richard. I think that's the oldest console we've got in the not you, well, you as well, but it's the oldest console we've got, but probably the most reliable.
Fantastic.
The Tangerine went on it though, didn't it? The Tangerine's not working. The computer's not working on it.
Yeah, Tangerine is the modern system you can get to kind of replace the computer, which the computer and the console in there. I mean, it takes the old the old big floppy disks, that kind of size. That's kind of what we're talking about there. The old BBC floppy disks. So it's a keeping it going. We have to keep them on pretty much all year round. If you switch them off, they may not come back on. So it is a full-time job keeping the whole building running, but especially some of these consoles. But there's a reason for that. Our clients love them. They're integral to the work we do and getting the results for our clients.
Awesome. So the next question is, who are the most notable alumni or some alumni that have worked with some well-known artists? So we're proud of all of our alumni here at ACM. For everyone that you see out there on the stage, there is people backstage, in offices as label execs, and working on the business side of the industry. For example, we have music business alumni, Rachel Holmberg, who was head of BBC Introducing, and she is now head of A&R at Decca Records. Super proud of her. We've obviously got Alex on the call, who is an engineer at Metropolis now. So what kind of artists have you been working with since graduating from ACM, Alex?
I've probably done over 1,000 sessions in the 8 years that I've been there. But I mean, some of my favourites are probably done 2 albums with Bullet for My Valentine. Last year did a few weeks with Kendrick Lamar on kind of writing sessions. Elton John, done several sessions with him, who's great. Picked up a lot of the kind of the heritage acts over the years. Sting, Peter Gabriel, mixed a record for Chris Rea. I just finished mixing a song for Billy Ocean as well. So yeah, I mean, all sorts of stuff and more, from the kind of heritage acts all the way to kind of the top guys in the pop world at the moment.
Fantastic. And for anyone that was on the open day earlier, Shay, who's also production alumni but also tutor at ACM now, has worked with people like Girls Aloud and the Saturdays as well. We've obviously got people like Newton Faulkner that are ACM alumni. Zomboy, massive dubstep producer, he's ACM alumni. there's ACM alumni in so many different areas of the industry. Atlanta Cobb, who's managing Becky Hill now, she's ACM alumni. So yeah, definitely check out the alumni section on our website. But there's so many corners of the creative industries, and you don't really have to look for long to find somebody from ACM there. So it's really nice to see everyone doing so well. Richard, is there any alumni that stick out to you, by the way?
Apart from Alex, who is genuinely a genius, clearly, we have Jake over here, Jake Elsgood, who is our who works is one of the fantastic tech people that works for us here, and has actually been a revelation to us. Has actually been a real revelation for us. One of the things I was going to butt in, I know there's a slight delay, so if we talk over each other, I apologise. About the desks and Alex talking about how they've run out of their warranty. It's Jake that persuaded us to buy a 3D printer. I know that sounds really dull, but we bought a 3D printer, which, or a couple of them now, that means that we can print our own switches and all of the kind of stuff. So we're quite a self-sufficient tech team. And it was Jake that brought that in. The tech guys, when we went into lockdown in March, I generally don't think that we could have survived without the likes of Jake and the other two tech guys here, Rich and Alex. They kept us going. They're an amazing team, and it really does. It can only run because of them. So, and also we have Natalie as well. Natalie, who works with us here, she's an ex-alumni down there from ACM. She wants to be a mastering engineer. We're trying to help her through that. She's a trainee mastering engineer for us and is working with the likes of Tony Cousins and John Davis, as you saw there, some legendary mastering engineers. Very proud of us being. There's not enough female mastering engineers, not enough female engineers, full stop. We've got actually quite a few of them here in Metropolis, and it's something that I'm very, very supportive of, to get more females into that world, into the world for us. So I'm proud of the work that Natalie's doing. I think there's only one other female mastering engineer in the whole of the country. So for us to bring Natalie along as well is a real. I'm really proud of that.
Awesome, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I would thoroughly encourage any women that are interested in production to definitely give it a go. I really enjoyed my time at ACM, and yeah, don't be afraid of being in a classroom full of guys, because it's actually fine, and it's such an interesting subject. So our next question is, what campuses is Jono teaching in? So our tutors move around all the different campuses, and whilst we are doing online learning and blended learning, it might be that it's across all of the campuses, but it kind of changes on a termly basis. But if you'd like to find out more about that, definitely contact inquiries@acm.ac.uk. And is he teaching any specific vocal course? So at ACM, we have got the music performance degree, where you can specialise in vocals. You can specialise in vocals for diploma. And we also have creative artist, where if you want to maybe do a bit of production and stuff like that alongside the performing and do some songwriting, that might also be an option for you. So our next question is... let me just scroll down. Are there a lot of recording sessions and production or programs for games, film, and sound design? So let's tackle this from the Metropolis side first. So do you guys ever do sessions for games or films for music?
Do you want me? I'll take this one, Alex, for a bit. We do. We
do
the odd in terms of like sound, in terms of recording. Our studios are not. We don't do a lot of orchestral work because A is not big enough, and clearly, the two big orchestral studios in London are Air and Abbey Road, and they kind of have kind of sewn it up. Angel used to do a lot, but Angel went under. Probably this time last year, I think, Alex, it wound up, didn't it? Or maybe the year before, actually. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I forgot. I've blotted out 2020, so we don't have room to do a lot of that. However, having said all of that, we have in the building we have a guy called Al Clay, who works very, very closely with Hans Zimmer, and one of the soundtracks that I am so excited about us doing at the beginning of last year, and they've been fiddling with it all lockdown long, is the Top Gun 2 soundtrack, which was done here with Al Clay in London and Hans in LA. We do bits and pieces of it. Games, we did a little bit for Final Fantasy, didn't we, recently? I think we did a little pickup for some for Square Enix a little while ago. It's not our core business that we do here. A lot of our artists, we've gained we've got a good reputation for hip hop, and a lot of black artists come here, which we're very proud of. That's kind of where we've cornered that area a little bit, mainly because we're 24 hours. We're one of the few 24-hour studios in London. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's our strength, primarily down to our size. We've picked up a few bits and pieces with Angel going under, but it's not, I can't pretend that we do it, but Alex may speak differently.
Yeah, I've done a few over the years, done a few voiceover sessions. More recently, actually, I think because generally our history has been in, as one of the top music studios in the UK, a lot of places don't really see us as the first port of call to go to for things like voiceover and games, and surround sound and some of that more maybe more technical stuff for TV and film. But actually, when we have had people in, and because of where we're based in Chiswick, we get a lot of the kind of top TV actors. They all live in that area. So we've had people like David Tennant, Miranda Hart. We had the Top Gear lot in for sessions. Russell Brand doing voiceovers for Despicable Me. So we have picked up bits and pieces, but like as Richard was saying, it's and the thing is, when they do come here, they love it. They love not having to go into central London, into Soho, which is where a lot of that work is done in very dry sterile environments. They love being able to come just down the road and do the work with us. So yeah, it's not as much of our kind of work, but we've done some bits and pieces.
Awesome. And from the ACM side, we have a game development course where you can specialize in audio. So if that's something that interests you, then definitely talk to our admissions department about that. And on our production courses, and I think a bit in creative artists as well, there is stuff on sound design and writing music for film and TV. And I know one of our alumni, which I believe was from the production course, called Jack Britton, I think, did some of the music for 2 Point Hospital, the game that was released on Switch last year and Xbox. So he's ACM alumni and has gone into that kind of work since graduating from ACM. So our next question,
one thing, Lizzie, sorry, I was going to delay. We are about to build, to pick up on a point that Alex made, we're about to build just at the far end of the room, at the far end of the studio, Atmos mixing room, which is 5G enabled. So that's using 5G to take a live stream from a venue. I'm trying to think of a venue that we're going to be doing it from. One of the first is from the Albert Hall. So you take a live stream feed directly from the Albert Hall over 5G, and then you mix it in surround sound in Atmos. Actually, it's an Atmos room. You can mix it live through Atmos there and then through that room. And we'll be the only room the only studio in London that can do that, that can take feeds from multiple venues around the country. It's part of a 5G Create project that the government have done. So they're putting 5G enabled streaming into various venues around the country, all of which will be fed into the room in Metropolis, and it'll be live mixed from there. We are also then going to be doing all of Amazon's surround mixes coming out of the 5G room there. And this is the Atmos room there. This is a brand new part of our offer, and one of the things that we're thinking about doing, and we want to try and do, is to bring students from ACM through that room, so that they're kicked out the other end, being one of the very few that know how to do that in this new world, for want of a better term. I can't think, when they graduate, that's the word.
Yeah.
When they graduate, they're one of the very few people that know, a few set of students that know actually how to live stream in Atmos, live mix in Atmos. That's an incredible, I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin doing that, but that's what we're doing down the other end of the building.
Yeah, I wish we'd had that when I was here. That sounds amazing. So, Richard, how often do ACM
pandemic, Lizzie?
I know. How often do ACM students get access to Metropolis Studios, and what kind of different things can ACM students get involved with at Metropolis?
We so the concept of downtime is an oversell, and I don't want anybody to think that, oh, we get downtime, it's amazing. The thing about Metropolis is since I've taken over, and I don't put it down to myself, but we've got steadily busier and busier and busier. And what that means is we'll offer you downtime for, say, I don't think there's a client in here tonight, actually, Alex. I think it's set up for tomorrow night. So, for example, yeah. Studio B is empty today, and so a student could come into Studio B right now. But that means that you've got to get to London, you've got to get to Chiswick and get there and to record to come into here. But at any one time, we'll say, actually, you can't get in here now because we've sold it to another client, or another client comes in. So because we're on demand, and people are booking very, very late, as they do in the studio world, it's very difficult for us to promise downtime. You know, the weekends are easier. Working between midnight and 6 a.m. is easier, and some students can do that, and we're here to facilitate that, and we'd love to do more of it. So there is the downtime offer that is there. That tends to work for London students more than, say, for obviously Birmingham students, because they could be halfway down the M1 or the M6 before we tell them that they can't do it because we've sold the space. So we try and to counter that, we try and block out time for ACM students. So there's a set block of time per month that can be booked in during the days or during whenever they want to book it in, that we'll hold for ACM students. So there's that. We also do, back in the day when people were allowed to be close to one another, we used to do a lot of live events. We still do a lot of live events, live to vinyl events, and live performance events here for people like Notion and Clash Magazine. We're doing some next week, would you believe, for Clark's, the shoes. They're doing some live streaming events and music. We do stuff with Amazon Music. We do stuff for Spotify sessions, listening parties. And all of those artists, they need tech services. They need support. So we try and get ACM students to come in and work with Alex, who may be working the desk on an event like that. We try and get ACM students in that want to come in. And bizarrely, we've struggled with some students some cohorts to try and get them to come in and do that. It's to be able to sit with Alex or Liam or whoever it is and to work through those kind of sessions. It's very difficult. And again, I don't want to lie to anyone. It's very difficult for me to say, yeah, great, come and join Alex on a Kendrick Lamar session, because artists are very fussy and they tend to work with who they want to work with. So unless that student is going to be a face that they're going to see throughout the session, you can't just come in and out. So that I can't promise you that. What I can promise you is access to that downtime, to access to that time that is scheduled, and then also to access through all of our live events to come and help us. To come and figure out how long it takes to mic up a Yamaha. For one of those sessions, Alex will tell you, we're more than happy to have you here. So those are the kind of things that we want you to come and get involved in. Make a
absolutely,
pain in yourself. Make a pain in the
absolutely, and
my point being, sorry, Lizzie, because sorry. The more people come to us, and you'd be surprised about how little pestering we get. So just come in and pester us, and that's how you get it. And I'm sure that's how I've ever got anything in my life. You just keep knocking down the doors, and we'll let you in.
Absolutely. I think what I noticed from my time at ACM was it's surprising how few people apply for opportunities. So apply for anything that comes your way, because then you'll be the first person that they call next time, and the time after that, and the time after that, until perhaps it is a Kendrick Lamar session and you've done 50 other sessions. Then you're going to be at the top of that person's mind to call. So all opportunities are fantastic. It leads to bigger and better things. So really do get involved and make the most out of your time when you're at ACM, because it will go by really quickly. So we've got time for a few more questions before we wrap up at 6:30. So Alex, when mixing a track, would you usually finish the mix and master of the entire track and then bounce it down before recording vocals? Or is it common to record and mix vocals during the beat production? So I think this is more for like electronic music.
Yeah, so I mean, you're talking about a few different processes there, and I'll record vocals at various stages, or get given vocals to record at various stages throughout the process. If I'm mixing a track myself, I want to have everything done, everything laid out in front of me, so I can prep the session and then spend 6 hours getting a mix, then start the back and forth with the client, and then once we're happy, send it off to mastering so it can be done. In the producer's world, quite often I'll get situations where I had last night actually, where I'll get tracks that have clearly, they've pretty much been finished and been sent off to mastering, and then obviously it goes to the record label and they'll be like, well, can we just re-record this bit, or can we just do that? So there are situations where it will then come back and I'll be recording vocals to a mastered 2-track instrumental or something that's already been put down. So it kind of happens both ways. But in an ideal situation for me personally, if I've got that if I'm mixing a track for someone, I want everything done and dusted and ready to go. That's not to say that there may be situations where it comes back and you're recording bits, but generally it's good to have everything ready and done before you start the mixing process.
Definitely. And I think this will have to be our last question before we wrap up. But what process do you go through when making an album, from initial meetings to the commercial release? So Alex, if you could let us know from the recording side, like how you can prepare to record an album at a studio and the kind of process of that. And Richard, if you could give us a bit of insight as to how you actually then market the record and get it out there.
Blimey.
Yeah.
Alex,
so I guess recording an album is a huge undertaking for anyone. It can be a very lengthy process, and you're really starting out with those initial discussions with the artist or the band or whoever it is, and trying to get inside their head and really kind of probably referencing a lot of different music and doing lots of writing sessions, and those writing sessions are usually the key bits that kind of lead on, even if you just get like a moment of an idea into building something that then becomes a finished track. And then the more and more you do that, the more you build up your tracks, and until you've probably got hopefully 20 or 30 tracks to pick out for an album. And then then it's all you kind of go in. I mean, there's people that are doing it in so many different ways now because of the ability of the technology to allow you to kind of record in so many different locations and so many different ways. Some of the more fun ones that we have are the kind of big writing sessions, like the room set up for there, because you kind of hit record as soon as the artist comes in, and then they'll spend several hours just fleshing ideas out, which would be a great process to watch. And then, yeah, after that, hopefully you put a record together, get it mastered, and go to the label and try and get some approval.
And then, yeah, Richard, once that process is done, from like the marketing side, from your days at Sony, what's the kind of process after that?
Right, I haven't done this for years, or for a couple of years anyway. I've got 3 minutes or 4 minutes. I'll give you a 4 minute. I don't know how many people we've got left on it. I'll give you a 4 minute guide into how you market a record. There's only 4 questions that you need to ask yourself if you're marketing anything. Okay, that's what you're selling, who you're selling it to, why are they going to buy it, and how you're going to tell them about it. So, what you're selling. You need to figure out what actually it is that you're selling. You do some insight and some hard work on what you're trying to say, what it is about you, and that there's a lot of work that goes into that. That's brand stuff as an artist about what you're trying to communicate, who you're selling it to. Here's the gold dust, okay? That I'm going to tell you about the music or any entertainment marketplace in the world anywhere. There are 4 major groups of people that buy music in this country or anywhere in the world, or any entertainment product, be it fashion, be it film, be it books, television, whatever it is. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. Can you see that? That's a cone that starts down that end and goes wide up that end, and it's split into 4, and it goes from left to right. There are people that are fanatical about music and buy everything that you want to. They watch later, they listen to, because they're 50-year-olds, they watch later, or they're 14-year-olds that trawl the internet trying to find the next best thing. They just live by what they are fanatical about their product, be it fashion, film, television, whatever it is. There are people that are in 2 minutes. There are people that are enthusiastic about it. They kind of get it and they like it. There are casual. They can take it or leave it. And there are people that are indifferent. Anybody who tells you that everybody in the country loves music is lying to you. They don't. There are some people that are fanatical about it, all the way up to people that are indifferent about it. Don't market to them like they're exactly the same. So what you do is you figure out what you're selling, who you're selling it to on that cone, and then where you want to get to. And in there, what you do is, if you want to reach the fanatics, it has to be a very fanatical kind of record. So you start there. That's phase 1. Then you start to move up the cone with the singles as you're going through to the mass market. Here at the Indifference, most people in this country have got all of the music that they're only ever going to want ever. If not a new note of new music was made, most people in this country wouldn't notice. So you have to be aware of that. So to move up the cone, to go from a fanatical audience to a casual audience to an indifferent audience, you have to have a hit. It has to be on airplay. It has to be multiple billions of streams. You have to move up that way like that to get maximum kind of buy-in to a casual audience. So that's the who. You need to figure out. So what you're selling, who you're selling it to, why are they going to buy it? What is different about that? What is your music that turns somebody on? So you need to figure out what you need to dial up and what you need to dial down. Okay, in your proposition. That's why they're going to buy it. How you're going to tell them about it is what channels. What does a 15-year-old fanatic consume? Where do they go to consume music versus a 55-year-old indifferent man? There, to give you a clue, television, just television. Most people in this country, when it was running, doing good numbers, when asked where did this lot find out about new music, their answer is X Factor. You tell a 15-year-old fanatical about music that X Factor is where this lot learn about new music, you're talking a different language. So don't market to them like they're the same. So a fanatical 15-year-old kid, 14-year-old kid, where do you go to listen to music? It's going to be different to where a 55-year-old does. So you market to them. That's how you tell them. And once you've figured out what you're selling, who you're selling it to, why are they going to buy it, dial up, dial down, how are you going to tell them about it, you can write a phased marketing campaign. There you go, 4 minutes.
Awesome. We're going to have to do a bigger session on that, Richard. That was really interesting. I think people want to hear more about that. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And for anyone that's on the stream that has been to our subject-specific open days, it's been great to see you there and to let you know more about our courses. We have got a general open day happening on the 16th of January. You can sign up for that on the website acm.ac.uk/open days. And we also have a diploma open day happening on the 17th of February, which you can sign up for on the website as well. It's been great speaking to all of you. UCAS deadline has been extended to the 29th of January. So make sure to get your applications in for that. If you need help with it, email inquiries@acm.ac.uk, or you can call admission on 01483 500 841. We'll be in touch soon about a roundup from all of these days. Have a brilliant evening. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks, Richard, and thanks, Alex. And we'll see you all soon.
Thank you all. Stay safe.